So on the current project I'm working on, which is on my YouTube channel, I'm making this custom crown molding, and it just made sense to post it as a singular video showing how to install crown as a subset to that series. So in the video I posted last week, I showed people how to make this crown. That's on my channel if you want to check it out. I'm assuming most people watching this channel are going to be using crown they bought at the store. It's the exact same process, but this is what I'm going to be using. So on my crown, this decorative detail is actually at the top. So I put a little arrow on there just to kind of designate top versus bottom, because you're going to be flipping this stuff around and that's where it starts getting confusing. So in order to cut the miters into these, which you need for all your joints, you would essentially have to hold the crown like this, with the back fence as the wall and the ceiling kind of floating in the air. In order to make that cut safer, over the years they developed this technique to actually flip the crown upside down, so your back fence is essentially the wall and the base of your saw is the ceiling. If you get behind the saw and look at it, it makes a little more sense. You can see that my arrow is pointing, the base there being the ceiling. So that is how you make those cuts. It's basically just going to be 45s. So I'm going to cut the ends off these pieces and show you how you would use these 45 cuts for all of the joints that make up crown. So that's all that is. I'm just twisting the blade 45 and 45. Now some people will change the bevel in the back if you have a tilting bevel saw, and you could cut this flat. I find it's just easier to mock it up the way I did it. So then I marked all these cuts based on if the saw was turned to the left or the right, and these are the cuts I'm left with. I left this bottom piece oriented upside down, but you can see if you flip it over, it's the exact same cuts if you move the pieces. So those are the sides we're going to be working with. If you have this regular piece here, and I take my left side and my right side and I join them together, that is how I'm going to get my outside corner. So that is basically that one joint, left and right, will make an outside corner. And then for a scarf joint, which I don't have on this build, this is essentially joining two pieces together if you have a long run. Now you can see this longer piece I cut is a good example of I didn't have it oriented properly, so my joints aren't lining up. But essentially, if I had this held properly against the fence, this is how you would cut a scarf joint. It's joining the inside and outside of those cuts in order to make a longer span. And then for coped pieces, you could see I marked the edges of this as where you would cope it. You could see if I flip it upside down, inside corner is going to be that left hand cut there will slide into my inside corner. And then if I flip it around to my other side, that's the cut I would make to cope the inside corner on the left hand side of this piece. So those are the basic cuts, and now I'm going to show you how I use that in practice. So on this piece I started with one span across the back. That was pretty simple. If you had a longer span, this is where you would put a scarf joint. Now this is kind of free floating, and the top piece of this is a cornice and it's not permanently attached yet. So they have to come apart. So I made these little triangles, which are the same joints, same angles that will fit inside, to have a little bit of bulk to this piece. I use this on this because, like I said, this part's going to be coming apart. If you're mounting this on your own wall, you don't need these angles unless your crown starts to get quite large. So you can see the side I did is this one over here, and I'm going to show you exactly how I did it on this other side. This project was perfect because there was a couple really small complicated angles to cut. It's got inside corners and outside corners, so it covers the gamut of crown cutting. So like I said, I have this inside corner to cut. The standard to do this is to cope that corner. Some people will put miters in corners. If it's your own house and you're remodeling, you should essentially do what you want, but the proper way to do it is to cope them, especially if you're cutting something for a customer. That's just so that when the seasonal humidity changes the crown, there's no big gaps in the pieces. Also, this whole process is assuming that the corners are 90, the ceiling's 90, and the walls are 90, which is not always the case. So the coping will help you account for that. If you have a situation where your angles are really off, there are videos on YouTube, much more in-depth videos that will show you how to deal with that. In this circumstance, I'm making the assumption that all of your angles are close enough to 90 to squeak by, which mine are, and most people are going to be painting their crown. So if you have little hairline gaps here or there at the ceiling, it's easy to fill. It's really only a situation where you have to worry about the differing degrees if it's extremely off or if it's going to be a stained piece. So for coping these, you can see I made that line, and I'm just cutting off the back of this at an angle following that line. I cut my straight pieces first because it was a little bit easier to do, and in this video these are really only the two tools I use are the miter saw and this coping saw. They sell really fancy jigs, really fancy tools that will do this stuff quicker. Unless you're a contractor and you're doing this all the time, I don't find it's necessary to have those tools. This is what the basic backside of that's going to look like. I do clean this up a little bit, have to remove a little bit more material to get everything to fit properly, but that's essentially all it is. You're just following the edge of that joint. You can see I put it in place. It was a little too big in one spot, so I had to remove a little bit more material. You're just removing that back bit of material so that this joint can slide into the edge. That's what that finished joint is going to look like. And then I could take it to my piece and, like I said, slide it in place. And that is what that cope will look like. So that back side is a flat run to the corner, and then this part is going to be coped. So like I said, that's what that looks like. I don't have any big glaring gaps. And I can mark the bottom of it for my outside miter. I like to put pencil marks on everything. I do find these cuts can be a little confusing. Even I get mixed up sometimes, so I like to put a pencil mark on it so when I bring it to the saw, I know I'm cutting it in the right way. Now, like I said, some people have jigs for your miter saw. I don't have any of that sort of stuff because I really only cut crown a couple times a year. So on these smaller pieces, because like I said, I made custom pieces, so I have very small pieces. In order to make this cut a little bit safer for these smaller parts, all I did was I took a scrap piece of 1/2-inch ply. I used a brad nailer to brad this to the piece so I could cut it very safely. My hands aren't anywhere near the saw. It's holding it in the position it needs to be in, and then the brad nails are small enough I could just pry it off of that wood and put it in place. So that was going to be that outside edge, and then I could cut the receiving end as well. So I have that cope in place, my outside edge, and then you could see I left this long so I can mark for the other side. I apologize. I filmed this on an iPad, and anytime there's a little bit of a shadow, it comes out grainy. And since it's essentially, this piece has a roof on it, essentially, some of these shots are in shadows. So then I started on this side because I need to find out where this is going to end in order to cut the other miter. So you can see how I'm using those little triangles in order to brace this stuff and attach to it. So I'm going to be cutting a miter on this little corner. So once again, I just mark and cut all of my pieces, and pretty simple outside miter there. You can see how I marked them, and I just cut the edges in order for them to fit, and this one I'll put in place. So this is the next part, is the hardest part of this build because I have a very small piece of trim to cut to get this little notch that is in this piece in shape. So in order to get that accurate, you can see I'm bradding this outside corner in place so I can butt my other pieces up against it. You will notice some gaps, and that's because, like I said, this cornice isn't permanently attached at this point. So then I have to cope this edge, which I'm going to do. You can see I cut it so that I could cope. I'm just lining it up so you can get an idea of how that doesn't fit, but in the material you need to remove. I coped it off camera because you only really need to see that process once, and then that's how it's going to fit into place. Now this is where I have to make a very, very small cut for that miter, and this is where putting this stuff on plywood really helps. I can kind of creep up on my line by just slightly moving this material over. I have it bradded in place, like I said, to make this cut safe, and then I could just bring the saw down, and I'm left with just this little nub, and this is basically what I needed to finish that. One backside's coped, and then this front side will be ready for another outside miter. So once I had that done, I went back to the other side and put all this in place. So that's bradded. You'll notice I'm not putting any brads in essentially what's going to be the ceiling, which is the bottom side of this cornice, because it's going to have to be removed. And then I put this outside miter in place off of the piece. It's a little bit easier to do it this way. So I'm just putting a couple brads in there while the glue sets up so it can hold. And then these brads are great. You really can't see them in your piece. Now, crown molding is a little bit of an Achilles heel for me. I usually make 1 or 2 miscuts. I'm a visual builder, so flipping stuff upside down and cutting it in different ways can be a little bit hard to visualize, is where my errors come in place. But this was a pretty complicated, at least for my shop, complicated crown install. I really didn't have too many problems. You can see how that fits into place. I have those triangles there, and now I can attach this one as well. So that was basically the extent of it. I think the main process is figuring out how to cut it on the machine. And then if you want to practice, I recommend go and get a cheap piece of crown and practicing those inside-outside corners. Coping is one of those things where it takes a little bit of time to get used to it. Like I said, if you have money to spare, they sell plenty of tools that will help this process go along faster.